This is Karen Ranzi of Super Healthy Children, and I am here at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and I want you to meet Genelle. I heard her speak today, and she has a wonderful healing story to tell you about. Genelle, can you tell us a little bit about when this started? I know that you were a teenager, and you must have had some symptoms even before that. Can you tell us about your symptoms and what led you to go deeper into finding out a way to heal yourself from this problem that you were having?
Yeah, sure. So I had 3 health problems that were just, I couldn't live my life to the fullest because of these 3 health problems. I got salmonella poisoning from recalled peanut butter in 2006. In 2006, I was 16, so all of these 3 that I'm going to list all happened around that same time that I was diagnosed or that they started occurring. So I had the salmonella poisoning, and that caused basically diarrhea for 2 years straight and just horrible stomach pains. I had a lot of just constant nausea and constant feeling sick from anything I ate. It completely messed up my whole digestive system, and I just felt sick from anything I ate, which I'm sure if anybody else has food sensitivities they can relate to. I also, around that same time that I got the salmonella poisoning, I got chronic migraines. From 16 years old back in 2006 until about last year, when I was 22, in 2012, I had a migraine or a very severe headache for the whole entire day, and it would range.
And how often was that?
I mean, there was not one point when you could ask me if does my head feel okay, and I would say no. I had head pain like non-stop, 24 hours, and it would vary from lower to higher, but I always felt pain.
And so do you think that this was a result of the salmonella poisoning? It came soon after?
I think I'm not sure if it happened right after the salmonella poisoning or if it was a symptom from the salmonella poisoning, but they just happened and they would never end, and I was just in constant pain.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your diet was like during your teenage years?
During my teenage years, I had a standard American diet, and I also ate some fast food, and so at this time I was still eating meat, so I was eating meat, dairy, cooked foods, probably not enough vegetables or fruit, and a lot of processed food. I didn't really like salad back then, and I know I did like fresh fruit occasionally, but mainly it was a lot of just standard American food, pasta with sauce, and I loved chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
And just fast food, and just not an ideal diet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it's amazing because not all young people of your age, I mean, how old are you now?
Now I'm 23. I just
23.
turned 23. Mm-hmm.
And so most of this happened when you were about 16, 17.
Yes.
And when did you decide that you needed to do something drastically different?
So when I was having these health issues, just around the same time I was having a lot of bleeding, a irregular menstrual cycle. I started my cycle when I was 11, and I would have maybe 10-day-long periods, and they were super heavy the whole entire time, and they naturally, to regulate it, put me on birth control. So at 12 years old I got put on birth control, and so when I was 16 I was having still some menstrual cycle issues, and I went, even being on the birth control, and so then I went to a doctor about my gastrointestinal system, and they said, I think you might have endometriosis, just by asking a few questions about my cycle. And they said the only way they could find out if I had endometriosis was by doing surgery, a laparoscopy surgery. And so they went in and they did that, which led to finding out that I did have endometriosis, which is the lining of the uterus. Instead of the cells, the endometrium being inside of the uterus and growing there, that tissue and those cells would grow outside of my uterus and latch onto organs, and it would be outside of my uterus, but it would act as the same way as it would when I was getting a menstrual cycle. So it would start inflaming when I had a cycle, and it would want to break off, but that tissue, because it wasn't in the uterus, had nowhere to go, so it would just stay on other organs like my rectum, colon, bladder, and scar, and cause severe pain. I had episodes of contractions for 3 to 5 hours of just being in a fetal position, screaming and holding a pillow, and shaking from the amount of pain I was in. It was severe pain, and
that sounds so...
Oh, it was
so awful.
It was really bad. And so then they started me on, just to control this, to be on birth control, which I was already on. And then I started taking different injections. I had 2 laparoscopies to remove scar tissue from this endometriosis, and I had been on constant birth control for 10 years. And I knew I needed to do a change, because all of these medications that they had tried me on, all my migraine doctors that I went to, nothing worked. The endometriosis doctor I had seen, I had been given pills and injections and been in studies to see if certain things would work, and they would work for a little while, but then if I went off it and then tried to go on it again, it would not work. So I was constantly, bleeding for months straight, just pain and having migraines and endometrium pain and also the stomach issues. Everything was just, it was a lot.
And so where did that lead you?
And that led me to just start cutting out certain things from my diet to just try and feel better. When I got the salmonella poisoning and my digestive system got compromised, I then started, naturally I took out meat and butter, because greasy things, just like, I felt so horrible from eating meat and butter, grease, anything like that. Right. I loved dairy, so I didn't take that out right away. And then I started realizing, dairy makes me feel really sick, because from salmonella poisoning, I basically became really severely lactose intolerant. So then I took out those from my diet, and then I started researching more and more and realized, dairy makes me sick, so I'm just going to really try. And I've been reading about veganism and how healthy it is, so I took out dairy and started a whole foods cooked vegan diet. So I was eating vegetables, nuts, seeds, and I only would allow myself a little bit of fruit because I thought sugar was bad. So I was doing that, and I was also calorie restricting because I wanted to lose weight, and I thought, I wish I could eat more, and I know that there's something better. So I then I'd heard about raw veganism, and I had been to a gourmet raw restaurant and tried something and thought that was good. So then I went online and started searching and found raw veganism, and luckily I only went to that one restaurant and had one gourmet dish before I found 80-10-10. So I took out a step of the usual raw vegan transformation, and I went 80-10-10, and I started feeling really good, but then I struggled really badly to try and stick on the diet because I didn't properly know how to do it correctly. So then I came to this Woodstock Fruit Festival last year and wanted to learn everything I possibly could to start succeeding on this diet that I was so passionate about, hoping that I could achieve and follow. I went to every single one of Dr. Graham's lectures, and then I went to one on fasting, and from all my medical issues, I asked him at the end of his lecture, because I was so interested, I asked him, has he had anybody that has healed endometriosis? And he said yes. And as soon as he told me that, it's like, I have to do this. I'm in so much pain, and it can heal everything else that was occurring in my body. So then by some power that I brought into my life, I was able to fast with Dr. Douglas Graham in January of 2013. I did a 25-day water fast.
Wow.
So nothing but water for 25 days.
I think we're going to do another video on that, because I think that I want to give that a little bit more time. I think it'll be so beneficial for people just to know that you went to raw vegan foods and that you were already going further into it, finding out more, and then the next step was that it led you to fasting.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so that's great.
Okay.
Okay.